Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of Entrepreneurship Lab. This is your host, Nevena Bajalac, welcoming you once again to the podcast where we help you grow and scale your business. And again, as always, we bring you an amazing guests, people with hands-on experience who build business. And today, with us from Colorado is Justin Montgomery, and Justin is founder of ProCourseStart. He is a proven expert in turning professional expertise into scalable, high margin, continuing education business. He is a former nurse practitioner. He will share with us how he started, how he got idea to become an entrepreneur after being a nurse and having his career. And he's known from his nonsense style for, being blunt and really telling the truth about building a business. So Justin, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. Look forward to it. Appreciate it. Thank you.
I love your bio. I love your background. It is so interesting to have someone on the show who, had a career in one area and then realized, hey, I can build a business actually around this. So tell us a little bit more how everything started being an entrepreneur for you. So you were a nurse practitioner, and what happened then? Tell us. Let us hear from you.
Yeah, sure. So I was trained as a nurse practitioner. So for people who don't know what a nurse practitioner is, it's basically you become a registered nurse, then you get your master's degree in nursing, and you become a nurse practitioner. So it's kind of the same thing as like a physician's assistant. So you're in between nurse and doctor, basically. So you can prescribe medication, you can, see patients, you could basically act as a medical provider essentially. So I became that in 2013, and I started working in emergency departments and urgent cares and that sort of a thing. And one day in the ER, I was working, this would have been 2016, I believe, something like that. I was looking around and I saw how miserable everyone looked. Like, I was looking at the doctors, I was looking at the nurses, I was looking at the physician's assistants, and like all the ones who were over the age of like 45 looked miserable. And I think I was like 33 at the time or something. And I was like, there's no way in hell I'm gonna live this life. I'm not, there's no way I can do this for 25 more years. There's no way. Like, this sucks now, and I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm burnt out now. I've only been doing it for like 4 or 5 years, and I'm already burnt out. I was like, how am I going to do this for 25 more years? Anyways, so I was like, I need to start a business that pays me for my time and my knowledge and whatnot. So I started some medical. So I basically started some medical practices. So I started some men's health clinics. I started a medical cannabis clinic, an online hormone replacement therapy clinic. And I ended up exiting out of most of those businesses. I sold them and whatnot. And uh, and so I got a taste of being an entrepreneur. But the problem with those kinds of businesses is that it's still tied to me. Like, I have to be the one that exchanges my time for the services being provided. So I still had to exchange my time for dollars, right? I was the product, right? Like, I was still the product, and I still had to go to work. I still had to exchange my time. And ultimately, I'm a pretty lazy person. And so I don't want to go to work. Like, I'd rather go
I
fishing.
love the honesty.
Like, yeah, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I work my ass off, you know what I mean? But ultimately, I'm a lazy person. I want to wake up when I want to wake up. I want to go hiking or fishing. I want to do whatever I want to do, right? So, so I was like, I have to find a business that pays me around the clock so I can do whatever I want. I can live my life, right? And so I had a light bulb moment one day where I was like, why don't I sell my knowledge instead? Like, authors write a book and the book sells for decades, right? I mean, it sells forever. People record music and it sells forever. And so I was like, well, I'm not a musician, I'm not an author. I was like, so how can I do that? And so I decided that I'm going to package up the knowledge I have up in my head and create courses instead. But I'm not going to just create courses for the general masses. I'm going to create courses that are very specific to a very specific target demographic. And so my target market were essentially nurse practitioners, physician's assistants, physicians, chiropractors, basically medical providers. And that was my market. And the market was even narrowed down even further because what I taught them was how to start cash-based practices, not practices that take health insurance. And so I narrowed it down even further, right? And so I started a business called the Elite Nurse Practitioner in 2019. I sold my first course in 2020, March of 2020, right when COVID hit. Like I just had no idea this was like, I mean, it was just, right place, right time, I guess. And so COVID hit and I launched my first course and I made like 50,000 bucks in like 7 days. And I was like, I made more money in 7 days than I do in 2 or 3 months at my practices. I'm like, okay, I'm onto something here. So I just went balls to the wall. I hustled my ass off. I created a new course every single month for like 2 years. Like I created a new course every single month. And when you create a course, it doesn't just sell one time, it just continues to sell. So every single month, the course that I created the last month still selling. The new course is selling. The course from the previous month is still selling, and it just stacks up and it just snowballs. And before I knew it, in the first year, we were at $1 million of revenue net, not gross, net. The margins are 80%. I mean, you do spend money on marketing. That's it. And I had no employees. I just did it by myself. No employees whatsoever. And so I made $1 million and I was like, I'm going all in on this. And so I started hiring other people. I contracted out other people to start making courses for me. I'd pay them a little bit of money and then, and I'd make the majority of the profit. And yeah, and then after 3 years, we were at, 3 or $4 million net. And I was 38, 39 years old, and I had an 8-figure net worth built over a period of 3 years. And that's kind of when I decided to more or less exit, make a lot of money, and kind of just let it work for me now. And I just kind of do whatever I want. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And yeah, so that's kind of the story of how I got to where I'm at.
Love it. So I want to just go a little bit back. So when you started opening the clinics, basically, did you like invest it or you just open like being self-employed, like, oh, I'm just gonna be on my own and open this clinic and work and get money? Like when you said that you moved from your job, did you open like a clinic in a way that you were self-employed or you invested with like people to open clinics?
Oh no, I've never brought on a partner. I've never got investors. I've never took out debt. I've always just done these on my own.
Yeah.
Like my philosophy with business is a cheaply started business is a business that's cheaply closed, right?
Yeah.
Like if you take a $500,000 loan out, closing that down is going to hurt. But if you just start a business for 5,000 bucks and it fails, big whoop-de-doo, right? And so that's been my philosophy with every business I've ever created. I've invested $10,000 max into any business I've ever started, cash,
Yeah.
no debt, no partners. Yeah. And so when I started those practices, again, it was just me. I was more self-employed. I wasn't really an entrepreneur, right? I was self-employed. I would go to work. It was my job. It
Yes.
was my business, but I would still go to work. So I was self-employed, right?
Yeah.
And I hired other providers to start seeing patients for me. And then I became an entrepreneur in terms of, in the
Mm.
medical practice, the clinic space. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. So, when you started making courses, was it like what was your like first, right? You started, you build a platform, I assume you record your course. Okay, there was like you say, right time, maybe the right place, but did you had a specific marketing strategy? Did you invest in something in marketing to reach the right people? Like, what did you do to get your first sales with your courses?
yeah, so I started it as a blog, basically. So it was just more of a side project with the intent of selling like an ebook or something. So I started it in September of 2019, and it was just a blog. So I'd write an article twice a week, and it was 1,000-word article, that kind of a thing. And I would just post it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, and I would just click boost post and throw 50 bucks at it and just send it to nurse practitioners only. And it worked. Like people would read my articles and be like, okay, so they started subscribing to my email list. So I started building a following, right?
Mm,
So I started investing money into it, and I would say by the time I sold an ebook in January of that year. So September, October, November, December. So for about 4 months, I didn't really make any money outside of doing some consultations for people. And I reinvested every dollar I was making from consultations back into marketing that business. And I invested about 10,000 bucks marketing the thing, and that was just boosting posts. I literally would just boost content to my target demographic, which were nurse practitioners. And so I built an audience over a period of 4 months. And then I wrote an ebook that was about 150 pages. And I wrote an ebook and I sold it for 50 bucks. And I made like 5,000 bucks the first week. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I'm starting to make a little bit of money here. And I was like, but that's not really enough. Like I was only selling, maybe a few, $5,000 a month in ebooks or something. And I wanted more than that. So I created a course on how to start a men's health clinic. And I released it without advertising it because I built this audience over a period of,
Mm.
5 or 6 months. And so I just emailed and posted it on my social media pages. Hey, the men's health course is now launched, selling it for $3.99 or whatever it was. And it was just like the first day, it was just like boom, I made like 10,000 bucks in like one day. I was like, whoa, okay. And so that $50,000 I made that first week was I didn't advertise at all. I just sold it to the audience that I built through content, essentially.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because it was a content that's give value, and it was a very niche audience that was interested to learn. And obviously they were like, okay, Justin has some kind of experience. I want to learn. They were reading. There was a period of, I assume, building trust through you giving value, like through blogs and everything you did. And then logically they're like, oh, we need this. I need to, open my own clinic, or I want to learn about this specifically. But I'm asking this question because a lot of listeners, when you are, I feel a lot of entrepreneurs, they feel they need a huge capital or something. So that's why I wanted to know how you started. And then, investing $50, all of us can put to boost a post or something, and then, get those subscribers, get people interested to follow you, like quality followers, not just the quantity. So I think that's the key.
No, absolutely. It was quality followers, right? It's people who
Yeah.
actually wanted to read what I was writing about.
Yeah.
Like that's the key is that, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's write actual valuable stuff, record valuable videos, actually provide real knowledge.
Yeah.
Don't just provide bullshit, provide
Yeah.
real stuff people want
Yeah.
to learn. And if you do that, you build a loyal audience and then you can
Yeah.
sell to that audience. And
Yeah.
that's what I teach people now what to do is like build that audience. It's so important. But what's the thing that kind of sucks about that though is that building the audience, you don't see a return on that capital immediately, right? So,
Of
I was
course.
spending a couple $1,000 a month boosting posts. I was spending $1,000 a month, just literally for brand awareness. Go to my website, subscribe to my email list, just like that kind of stuff. And I made no money whatsoever, but I built an audience and then I was able to sell to that audience. So that's what people, if they're interested in starting an online business that's content driven, you have to realize that it's going to take some money to build that audience and then you start selling to it a little bit later on. Don't sell to them immediately. Wait a few months and then sell to them. So that's kind of the
Mm.
key.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So were there some mistakes or some things you wish and you had to learn the harder way on the journey, and you wish like, oh man, I wish someone told me about that?
Oh, geez. Honestly, I think one of the biggest things was that I wish I would have went all in on the business earlier. Because I was still working. I was still working full time up until 2022. Like 2 years into it, I have a business that's paying me $1 million a year, and yet I'm still going to this job. Why? I was delusional, like psychotically delusional here. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, it was just dumb. And so I wish I would have went all in on the business a lot earlier. If I would have done that, it would have saved me so much anguish and anxiety and depression. And because, I mean, I was working a full-time job. I had this business going. I had some medical practices going. Like I had no time at all. I had no balance in my life. And so I wish I would just went in all in on my business a lot earlier, but I guess I was scared. I was fearful of letting go of the job where it had cushy benefits, a consistent paycheck, everything that society brainwashes you to believe, basically. Like I wish I
This
would have like that.
Yeah, this is what I want to ask you. Like, was it a fear because you already made like money, but was it like, oh, maybe I just got lucky and it's not going to happen again? Like, was that like in subconscious of your mind, or yeah, or it was like not about money, you love the job, but from what you're saying, you were exhausted. So, was it a fear that kept you?
I'll tell you right now, I did not love that job at all. I dreaded going to work. Like I would sit in the parking lot and just be like, ugh. F words were going through my head, stuff like that. Like I really don't want to go in here today, you know what I mean? And so it wasn't for a love of the job at all. It was just fear. It was, yeah, like, did I just get lucky? I'm making all this money. Is this going to end, next month? Like, did I just get lucky? And so I felt like I just needed this consistent paycheck still to pay my mortgage and whatnot, like and I paid my house off and I still was going to this
That's
job. I'm
that's
like,
what I
what?
want to say. If you got 1 million in cash, like I'm assuming I don't know how much mortgage you had, but I'm like you could have pay off.
I paid off my student loans. I paid off my house. I paid off my car. I had no debt at all. I was like, I did the math and I was like, I could live off $2,000 a month if I wanted to. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like I have no
yeah,
debt. So it
yeah,
was fear. It was fear of the unknown, essentially. I felt like I kind of hit a jackpot more or less, and there's just no way this is going to keep going. And well,
yeah.
2025 here, the business is still going. So it was just fear. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel, that uncertainty is just like that equals entrepreneurship. Like it's constant uncertainty. But I think that uncertainty, once you jump in and you really go, what builds in you is like, because especially in COVID, like so many of us have to pivot, come up with new ideas. Like at a time I had like something very good going on and then everything shut down. I have to completely shift the whole model and everything, the practice and but I think once I've been through so much uncertainty myself, like I'm not scared of anything anymore. Like whatever comes my way. And that's why I love entrepreneurship because people are like, how are you just brave? Like I moved like from my country with one suitcase, like when I was 26 and then when I was 32, 33, like to two different continents. Yeah. And on my own, not knowing anyone. And people are like, how are you not scared? I'm like, no, like I know whatever like comes. If one thing, of course, you can, you have a plan doesn't work out, or your business idea doesn't work out, you can get a little bit down, but then you're like, okay, so what? Like, I have my knowledge, my skills. I am the value here, and I think that's something that's, a priceless when you are an entrepreneur.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that yeah, I'm not scared of stuff anymore. Uncertainty, like what's that?
Yeah,
I'm not worried about really a whole lot anymore at all in my life, like
yeah,
anything anymore.
yeah,
It's like what's gonna happen is gonna happen. It is what it
exactly.
is, I
And
mean, most of the
like
stuff's
you
out of your
can
control.
you can always build from scratch, and that's like that kind of power. Like, okay, if everything goes to zero, I build it once, I can build it second time. And then second time you do it, of course, with all the experience and the self-belief now you have about yourself, it just goes like 3 times faster, 100 times faster.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that for any entrepreneur out there who's, getting started or even looking to expand, I think that, if you have your financial house in order, if you have an emergency fund and you have a nest egg sitting over here to protect you during down times, then yeah, so what are you worried about exactly? That's kind of what people that I mentor, that's what I really try to push them to have is 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund in the bank before
Yeah,
you really dive into it. That way you have that safety blanket there. And if you
yeah.
do, then uncertainty and stuff like that just doesn't really bother you? So.
Yeah, yeah. So for listeners, a lot of startups, medium-sized businesses, a lot of self-employed people who want to monetize on courses, what would you tell them where to start if they want to start today? They're confused. What are some first steps and what they should focus on?
So the first thing that people need to realize is that number one is that your knowledge is your most valuable asset that you have. People don't realize that. I didn't realize that until a couple years ago, really. Like your knowledge is your most valuable asset. Therefore, if you're not leveraging your most valuable asset, I think you're being a fool. So, there's two things you can do with your knowledge. You can either let your knowledge work through you by providing services, developing products, working in your business, etc. That's your knowledge working through you. Or you can make your knowledge work for you. And that's what you need to realize is let your knowledge work for you. So first, you have to identify what is it that you know, like the back of your hand. Like, what is it that you are good at? Most entrepreneurs out there are good at something, right? They're good at something. They're good at something, and people would pay money to know that information, right? So, what do you know, like the back of your hand? And then develop a value proposition around that knowledge. So identify a problem within a very specific group of people, very, very niched. Niched is better. The riches are in the niches. Like the more narrow you can get, the better. Do not develop a course product and try to sell it to a target demographic of 20 million people. That's not going to work. Find a target demographic of 100,000 people, something extremely niched. The people that I know who have course businesses, the ones that have seven, eight-figure course businesses are the ones that have a target market, target demographic of maybe a couple 100,000 people. Very niched, right? There's 300,000 nurse practitioners in the United States. That was my target demographic, 300,000 people. That's it. Okay. I had 2% market share. 2%. I had like 7,000 students. That's all I had. And I was making $2 to $3 million a year off 6 or 7,000 customers. That's literally it. So identify a very niche market, find a problem in a very niche market, and then how can you solve that problem with the knowledge in your head? What kind of solution can you develop through a course? You need to figure that out. Like that is something that most people don't spend enough time on. And that's the thing that you need to be spending the most amount of time on is that simple equation. What problem affects a specific demographic and what's your solution? That's the equation to a course business. If you can basically fill in those blanks, you can have a pretty successful course business, but be very, very niche. So that's step number one.
Yeah, because I mean, when we talk about courses, especially in COVID time, we could see like a lot of courses were selling, but now you can say a lot of entrepreneurs are struggling. And a lot of people at that time, because we had to shift online, their preferable method in some ways is not a course, but they wanted to work one-on-one with a mentor or someone mentoring them, coaching them, and so on. A lot of companies also in my business, they're like, you know what, we don't want this online thing anymore. Come to our office. We want you to work with the team, bring the energy. So there was kind of shift, pivoting. So my question to you is how did you stay relevant? I think the niche market is maybe the answer, right? Because you, like you said, you didn't go to hundreds of thousands of people or millions of people on the audience, because I can see that a lot of people are doing some courses and then they will feel like they're not selling them.
So how did I stay relevant, basically? Like, yeah, I mean, you have to kind of stay on top of trends, right? I mean, whatever niche demographic you decide to pick, you can't just pick people interested in starting a business. That is way too broad, right? So, like, if you identify a very specific niche target market, then you should be able to keep up to date with the trends within inside that target demographic, that target market, within that profession or whatever it is. And so if you can stay on top of the trends, then you can develop products that follow the trends essentially. And so that's kind of just what I did, like there were certain trends in medicine that I would follow and then I would develop a course for it. Like, for example, functional medicine, for example, is something that
Mm.
it began, it started gaining a lot of traction back in about 2022. And I realized, I need to have a functional medicine course then, because if I don't, my customers are going to go somewhere else to learn it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you just got to stay relevant. You got to stay on top of the trends. You have to make sure you stay engaged with your community, stay engaged with that market. And if you do, they will tell you what they want if you just listen. You just got to
Mm.
listen to what they want. Have a Facebook group, have a community, and let people talk and get in there on a daily basis and listen to what people are talking about, you'll like new ideas will come just from people. Just
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Justin, so much. I want to wrap the episode with maybe some final advice you have for the listeners here. And yeah, what is something that you would share or give as an advice to every entrepreneur out there?
Yeah, I would say that try to diversify your income streams as much as possible. Do not rely on one single business. And I think that your job as an entrepreneur is to develop a business that works for you, not a business that
Mm,
you work for, a business that you can work on, not work in, right? So, like, figure out what that is. You need to develop a business that's generally passive in nature because a business that's generally passive in nature is a business that's scalable. You can scale a business like that. And I think that's why I'm so fond of continued education course businesses. It is a business that's scalable. And so I think my biggest piece of advice is don't waste your time on businesses that are difficult to scale and to grow.
mm,
If you want to generate real wealth, seven, eight, nine-figure wealth, you have to have a business that scales. And a lot of businesses people start are not scalable businesses. It's just
yeah.
not. You consulting and mentoring people, that's not scalable. It still requires
Mm,
your time, right?
yeah.
But if you package up that knowledge into a course, that's scalable because it sells 24/7, 365 days a year, right?
Yeah.
You can scale that. So if you're starting a business or wanting to start a secondary business or another business to diversify your income streams, develop one that's scalable. And like I said, I think continuing education course businesses are one of the best ones to start because it's cheap to start, it's relatively easy to start, it doesn't require a lot of input once the courses are developed. It's something that's scalable, it's very easy to start. And the worst case scenario is if it fails, you're out $10,000, maybe 20 at most. It's not the end of the world. You're not declaring bankruptcy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Thank you, Justin, so much for being here today and sharing all your knowledge and experience with us.
yeah, you're welcome. I'm welcome to come back on any other time.
Yes, and make sure to connect with Justin on social media platforms. Follow him for more advice and his interesting story and everything that comes up. And as always, please make sure to leave some comments. Tell us what would you like to hear next on the podcast. Subscribe, give us some comments, likes, hearts, and as always, share with at least one entrepreneur that can benefit from this episode. Thank you for listening, and I see you in the next one.